Hi guys, welcome to part 2 of our Irish bullet journal setup. I hope you enjoyed the first part, and if you haven't seen it yet, I'll make sure to leave a link to the video down in the description so you can check that part out first before watching the rest of the setup. And then before we get started on this week's video, I just wanted to let you know to stick around for later in this video when I will be announcing the country options for the next month, which will be June. Can you believe I'll be setting up June? I don't know where this year is going. But yeah, so stick around for that, and then you can help me choose between the 3 options of which country to do next month. Okay, so getting started, as you know that in the last part I left you hanging by you saving the mind map till this week's video. I did feel kind of guilty doing that to you because I know that it is a crowd favourite. It's one of my favourites, but a lot of you enjoy watching the mind map as well. So here it is. I'm going to start with the mind map page in this video, and I have chosen to go for a girl that I've been loving in movies for a little while now, and her name is Saoirse Ronan. And for years I was saying Saoirse, and she apparently gets a lot of different versions of her name because of how it's spelt. It is such an interesting spelling for the name Saoirse. So it was very weird when I was researching who was going to be my mind map woman. And I actually found out that Saoirse's birthday was on the day that I was researching, and I thought it was so bizarre. So she was born on the 12th of April, and she was one of the first people I thought of to use on this spread, and I'm really glad I did. I think it's because I've been watching a few movies with her in it lately, and she just sort of has this essence about her, like the look of her I think is very unique, and I wouldn't say Irish because obviously everyone looks different there, but I don't know, I just get a real traditional vibe from her for an Irish lady. So I was really happy to work on a drawing with her. She's just beautiful. She is a very talented Irish actress. If you're not sure who she is, she's an actress who ranked 10th on New York Times list of the greatest actors of the 21st century. She was also the second youngest person to accrue 4 Oscar nominations, just behind Jennifer Lawrence, and she was 25 years old at the time. So pretty impressive stuff. And I saw Saoirse on an interview after a movie I watched where I thought she was brilliant. I think it was Little Women. And on this interview, she was describing how to pronounce her name. So for ages, I was calling her Saoirse, like I said. But then on this interview, she just described that it's Saoirse. And it's just so much nicer, isn't it, than Saoirse? It sounds like a disease. I also remember watching her in The Lovely Bones, which was nearly 9 years ago. And I know this because the thought of this movie always brings back weird Twilight memories of feeling so completely lost. I had just entered motherhood, and I was wondering how on earth I would look after this little human. And I just remember watching The Lovely Bones with my husband while feeding my newborn baby, and just a feeling of dread and anxiety for the night ahead. It's so weird to talk about that, and I wonder if you know what I mean, but I just remember feeling so lost, and I can barely remember the movie because of that. But I just remember it being a great movie. I'd like to watch it with my brain now that I've gotten over those tough beginning years of being a mum. And just in that time that I'm recording this, I happened to watch another little clip of Saoirse saying her name, and it turns out I was still saying it wrong in the earlier part of this video. So it's not Saoirse, it's Saoirse, and she rhymed it with inertia, and that made it much easier for me to remember now. So Saoirse Ronan, and we finally got there. If anyone's Irish out there, it's definitely my trickiest language I've ever had to try to repeat on here so far. That and Welsh, man, they're hard. So yes, so Saoirse Ronan, very good choice for my mind map because I really appreciate her movies and the roles she's been in, she plays really, really well. And she was beautifully fun to draw. So onto the drawing that I'm doing on this page. I mentioned that I'm using my Prismacolor pencils, but here in the background I decided to go bold and use my acrylic gouache. So I'm using a nice bold orange in the background, and I just wanted to add in or tie a little bit of the Celtic art elements into this piece. So Celtic art is one of the great legacies left behind from the Celts, and this was in their art. So I wanted to try and tie some of the beautiful, intricate, woven, abstract patterns into this portrait. So I did look up how to how to draw. There's actually all these cool videos on how to draw the Celtic knot and, you know, Celtic patterns and stuff. And I did try it a little bit in the first part of this video, so the first part of the bullet journal setup, and then I did it again here. And there's actually a really cool way to figure out how to get those look like they're overlapping. It definitely looked tricky to start with, but once you grasp the concept of, you sort of make a cross and then connect each line together. I won't explain it here, but I will link a video if you're interested in learning how to draw these kind of patterns. I'll link a video to teach you that I found really helpful and easy to work with. So I did those in the background, and down the bottom I wanted her completely covered in shamrock. Shamrocks are the national flower of Ireland, and I'm sure we've all seen them before and heard of them before. But what I found interesting is that shamrocks are a type of clover, but not all clovers are shamrocks. So shamrocks are ones that have 3 leaves or 3 petals, and each petals are love heart shaped, which I just love. So there's 3 love heart shaped petals. That is a true shamrock. If it's a 4-leaf or more leaves or less leaves, and then 3, that means it's just a clover. So I found that quite interesting and thought it would be cool as if it was like her top or her dress, and it's sort of running up her skin from the base. And I think it looks quite nice. I really like these colours together. I've still got the Irish flag colours going on, and I did use watercolour for that, and then a little bit of pencil on top. And I'm going to mention here that if you guys are keen on seeing a real-time version of this, I have decided to put a full real-time version of my entire Irish bullet journal setup onto my Patreon as an extra video, because a lot of people seem to ask how long these things take me, or if they'd like to see it in long form. So I thought I'd upload the full thing real-time on Patreon. So if you're interested in seeing how I do these setups in real time, you can follow me on Patreon for as little as $2 a month. And the link to my Patreon is always down in the description box beneath this video, so feel free to check that out if you're interested. And here's a look at how the final spread turned out. Now moving on to my first weekly page setup. Now I wanted to maximize the space here as well, so that I could just work on a couple of drawings and get maybe 2 weeks each on those drawings. So the first spread is actually going to encompass 2 weeks, and I wanted to illustrate some of the gorgeous castles that you can find in Ireland. There's a lot of beautiful architecture, and this one in particular is so gorgeous it looks like the setting of a fairy tale. So this place is called Kylemore Abbey or Kylemore Castle, and it's found in the County Galway, which is on the west side of Ireland, and it's a beautiful monastery now, but was actually built for a family back in 1867 for a very wealthy man called Mitchell Henry, which totally makes me think of Downton Abbey, like these rich old world families that would just be able to build a castle and have just their family live in it. This one had 70 rooms, and I can't imagine, you know, that kind of size and just living with your family of 5 or whatever it is. It's just immense. But yeah, it's obviously not a private home now. It's owned by the nuns of this monastery here, this Kylemore Abbey. And you can do tours of the gardens here because it's just surrounded by all this lush greenery everywhere, and on a picturesque lake. It literally looks like Swan Lake could be here. It's just gorgeous. It's also set at the bottom of these hills as well, so it's completely encapsulated by green. Very suitable for the Emerald Isle. So to illustrate this one, I tried to go really, really loose and quite graphic with how I was doing it. I'm just using a fine liner to sketch out the location itself. I chose a really nice angle where it showed a bit of the abbey itself and then some of the lovely green trees and surrounding lushness. And then I wasn't really sure. I wasn't sure whether I should, you know, color it intense or just keep it black and gold like my old traditional ones in my older videos. But then I had been really enjoying using the watercolor throughout the first video of this setup, and in this one as well. So I just I had it nearby, and I thought just to throw on some nice loose color might be the best option. So that's what I did. I just used the watercolor remnants that I had in my palette. I barely changed it. And then, yeah, and it just kind of brought the picture to life. And then I just wanted to tie in that lovely autumnal colors from the other pages by using that same washi tape. So ran that across the background so that that's sort of representing the hill behind it all. And that just sort of gives you that little bit of extra color boost. I really do love doing that on my weeklies or anything where I'm feeling like I don't really want to pay too much attention to the drawing part. So I did that instead, and then worked on the actual content of these pages, which is my weekly calendar basically. This first week does contain an extra day because the week starts on a Sunday, yet I always start my calendars on a Monday. I feel like Monday is the first day of the week, not Sunday, even though a lot of history tells me otherwise, but I just like starting a fresh week on a Monday. So yeah, this first page goes from Sunday to Sunday, and then the rest are Monday to Sunday. Just a little random fact for you there. And then I kept a notes section in at the top because I do like having that kind of extra space for notes. And what I liked about this first page is such a simple little detail, but I think it really makes a difference. It's just by beveling the edges of those boxes, and it kind of gives you, I think it sort of gives you a Celtic kind of feel to it. It can work for lots of traditional looking artworks. So this is something if you're working on your own journal and you want to kind of give a little bit of a change without doing much extra, just invert those radius corners at the top and the bottom all around your square, and just make a little semicircle, and then it just gives you this cool like beveled look. Now, if you love the look of this island setup, the theme for this is available on my website shop, which is torrynmarie.com. And all of my bullet journal themes are blank, so it means that you can use those themes for any month of the year. It's not specific to the month that I'm working on. So if you wanted to use this island theme in your August spread, you could. If you wanted to use it for January, December, whatever, it's all up to you. It's all designed so that it's completely blank, ready for any month use. So if you do want to check those out, head to the link in the description box to purchase one, and then you can print them at home or at your local printer and stick it into any journal, and then suddenly you've got a fully made bullet journal for you to start using and organizing your life. And if you wanted to get these themes every month that I make them, they are provided to you as bonus content for the middle and top tier patrons on my Patreon as well. So don't forget to check that link out if you're wanting to get these all the time. And here's the finished first 2 weeks for my weekly spreads. The last thing I wanted to illustrate for the final page of my setup for Ireland was trying to show some of the beautiful scenery and the landscapes that surround the edge of Ireland itself. And one of the most popular ones that I kept coming across was the Cliffs of Moher, which I think is how you pronounce it. They just look incredible. They run along the sea for about 14 kilometers or 9 miles, and they reach a max height of 214 meters above the sea level. There's this really gorgeous stone tower called O'Brien's Tower, and it's just nestled right at the edge of one of these cliffs that looks out into the ocean. I think that must be a spectacle to see. And I just loved the look of these things, and I thought it was ideal to place them on this last weekly page, and then have the rainbow from my very first cover page of the island setup meet here on this little lonely island that's just floating out in sea. I wouldn't call it a real island, it's more just a rock, but it's where I'm picturing the little leprechaun's pot of gold is sitting at the end of the rainbow. These cliffs are the most popular tourist destination in Ireland, and there's a walk that you can walk along the edge of the cliffs. Well, I don't know if it's the edge, but right along this cliffs for 18 kilometers as a nice hike trail. I think that would be amazing to do, especially in the seasons that have the Atlantic puffins, and they get a lot of, I think over 30 species of birds coming to this area in certain seasons. So I think that would be pretty incredible to see. And if they look familiar to you, which they did to me, it's because, well, I'm a Harry Potter fan, and if you're one too, you would have seen these in the Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So I thought that was pretty cool. This is exactly where they filmed a part of the movie. And in this scene, they actually stand on the little rock that I talked about in the middle of the ocean, which is actually called Lemon Rock. And that's where I've put my pot of gold, but that's where Dumbledore and Harry Potter stand in that scene, which I was actually really scared by. Like, that is my worst nightmare, being alone on a little tiny island surrounded by vicious, storming water with nowhere to go. So yeah, quite a traumatic experience. But I was very intrigued by it and found that this was so cool to learn on this little journey of ours where we investigate these countries. So that was one piece of information that I liked. I wanted to share it with you all. And now I'm just filling in with little bits of watercolor those last pieces on this page and trying to tie in the colors from the rainbow on the cover, but I really didn't want to use blue again because I felt like that threw it off last time. So just stuck to yellow, green and orange like in the washi tape, and she was done. After I fill in the calendar elements and add some gold sparkle dust around the pot of gold and the rainbow itself, this piece is finished. And now we'll take a look at the flip through of the pages that I worked on in this video. I hope it was enjoyable for you and I didn't ramble too much, and that you maybe picked up a few little things about Ireland itself. I would love it if you wanted to share this with any of your Irish friends out there so they can see for themselves how I was inspired by their country. And now we can move on to future me and where we can make the choices for the next month's setup. I hope you guys enjoyed that video and learning a little bit about Ireland, and I really did. I loved the research of Ireland. I feel like I might be a little bit Irish on the inside because I just love the character of the people there and the culture and the scenery. It's just a great place and I really hope I get there one day. But anyway, now on to choosing the next country on our journey for the month of June, my birthday month, and we'll start with making the choices. I have the jars right here behind me in this random spot that I've chose to film in. And the first ones are the populations above 30 million. So I'm just going to swivel them around, see what we can discover from Malaysia. That would be cool to investigate. I have been to a small part of Malaysia, but I know there's so much more to explore. So that would be really interesting. So that's our option one. Then for the medium-sized countries with populations between 8 million and 30 million. And let's swivel them around. We have one, Chile, which is just so fun to say, isn't it? That's come out before. I just really like that word. I don't know much about Chile in general, but I think that would be really cool to explore. I'd love to learn more. And I'd love to visit there too. It just sounds like a place you'd want to visit. So anywho, the last one is the smallest countries on our list. These are 8 million and beneath. Swirling them about, and I have one. The lucky last option is Latvia. I barely know where that is. I know it's in Europe somewhere. That would be really interesting to discover as well because I don't know really anything about Latvia. So they're really cool options actually, and that'll be a tricky choice. So please help me choose by leaving a comment down below whether you want to see Malaysia, Chile or Latvia for the month of June in my bullet journal. And then I will have a look into the country and let you know what I find out and how it inspires me for my setup. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to also vote on the poll for these countries and be reminded of when my next video will go up. And you can always click the notification bell so that you don't miss a video upload. So thank you so much for being here and I will see you next time. Bye bye. Whoa. Am I? So not in focus. In focus, right? Right. Okay, just testing that. Am I in focus? Am I? Am I now? Am I now? I do hope you enjoyed that Irish themed setup. I really did. I loved doing the research and learning about the Emerald Isle. I feel